The sound of muffled sobbing stopped Dante Moretti, dead in his tracks. He'd been walking past the storage closet on the third floor of his downtown headquarters when he heard it soft, broken, desperate. The kind of crying someone does when they think no one can hear them. When they've finally reached their breaking point, Dante's hand hovered over the doorknob. He was a man who'd built an empire on reading people, on knowing when to push and when to pull back. But this sound, this raw, unfiltered, pain made something tighten in his chest in a way he didn't recognize. He opened the door. Ezra. Chen sat on the floor between filing boxes and cleaning supplies. His knees drawn to his chest, his face buried in his arms. His shoulders shook with each breath. He didn't look up. Didn't seem to realize anyone was there. Ezra, the younger man's head snapped up, his tear-streaked face going pale in the dim light. Those dark eyes, usually so careful, so controlled, were redrimmed and wide with something close to panic. Mr. Moretti. I'm so sorry. I just needed a minute. I'll get back to work right now, Ezra scrambled to stand. Wiping frantically at his face. Stop! Dante's voice was quiet but firm. He stepped into the small space and closed the door behind him. What happened? Nothing. I'm fine. Really, you're crying in a storage closet at 9 o'clock at night? That's not fine. Dante moved closer, and in the confined space, they were suddenly only a few feet apart. Talk to me, Ezra let out a shaky breath, his carefully constructed composure crumbling. My landlord sold the building. I have 30 days to find a new place, and everything in my price range is either hours away or I can't afford anything in the city anymore. And I know that's not your problem. I know I should have savings, but my mom's medical bills. And his voice cracked. I'm sorry. This is completely unprofessional. Dante studied him in the half-light. Ezra had been his personal secretary for 8 months. Brilliant, organized, quietly efficient. He never complained, never asked for anything, worked late without being asked. Dante had noticed him, of course. It was impossible not to notice Ezra Chen. You're not going anywhere, Dante said. Ezra blinked. What? I have a property. Penthouse in Riverside Tower. 3 bedrooms. Vacant since last month. You'll stay there, Mr. Moretti. I can't possibly. You can. You will. Dante's tone left no room for argument. Consider it part of your compensation package. You work 80-hour weeks. You've earned it. That building, those apartments cost more per month than I make in 6 months. I could never... I'm not asking you to pay for it. Dante pulled out his phone, already texting his property manager. You need a place to live. I have one sitting empty. This is a practical solution. Ezra stared at him, something unreadable flickering across his face. Gratitude, yes, but something else too. Something that made the small closet feel even smaller. Why are you doing this? Ezra asked softly. Dante looked at him. At the intelligence in those dark eyes, the strength in the set of his jaw, despite the tears on his cheeks. The way he held himself with dignity even in his most vulnerable moment. Because you're important to my organization, Dante said. It was true, just not the whole truth. Something in Ezra's expression shifted, softened. Thank you, he whispered. They stood there in the quiet, close enough that Dante could smell Ezra's colognes, something subtle and clean. Close enough to see the way Ezra's pulse fluttered at his throat. Dante took a deliberate step back. Pack this weekend. I'll have the keys ready Monday morning, Mr. Moretti. Dante, he corrected. We're well past formalities at this point, don't you think? The smallest smile touched Ezra's lips. Dante, hearing his name in Ezra's voice, did something to him. Something he couldn't afford to examine too closely. Go home, Dante said. Get some rest. And Ezra? Next time something's wrong, you come to me. Understood? Ezra nodded, still watching him with those impossibly dark eyes. Understood. Dante left the closet first, putting necessary distance between them. But as he walked back to his office, he could still see Ezra's face in his mind. Could still feel the strange pull in his chest. He told himself, It was just compassion for a valued employee. He'd always been good at lying to himself. 3 months later, Dante stood in his kitchen at 2 in the morning. Staring at his phone, the text from Ezra had come in 20 minutes ago, working late on the Castellano contract. Need anything before I finish up? It was the kind of message Ezra sent regularly. Professional, efficient, normal, except Dante had been working from home today, and Ezra knew that. And there was absolutely no reason for Ezra to still be at the office at this hour unless he was avoiding going home. Dante called him, Mr. Moretti. Ezra answered on the first ring, his voice carefully neutral. Dante? He corrected automatically. What are you really still doing there? A pause. I told you. The Castellano contract is finished. I saw the completed file at 6 p.m. Dante kept his voice gentle. Talk to me. Another pause, longer this time. Then, quietly, the apartment is too quiet tonight. Dante's chest tightened. He knew that feeling. The way silence could become oppressive. The way an empty space could feel like it was swallowing you whole. Come over, he said before he could think better of it. My place. I'm awake anyway. We can go over the Delacroix proposal. It's 2 in the morning. I'm aware of what time it is, Ezra. He heard Ezra's soft exhale through the phone. Okay, give me 20 minutes. Dante spent those 20 minutes telling himself this was normal, that he'd done this before with business associates, that there was nothing strange about inviting his secretary to his home in the middle of the night. The lies were getting harder to maintain. When Ezra arrived, he looked tired, but put together in dark jeans and a fitted black sweater. He'd clearly gone home to change from his usual work attire. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd showered. Thank you for this, Ezra said as Dante let him in. I know it's late. Stop thanking me. Dante led him to the living room, where he'd set out the Delacroix files on the coffee table. A cover story. A reason. Coffee? Tea? Coffee would be amazing. He spent an hour going over proposals, sitting on opposite ends of Dante's leather couch. The files spread between them like a barrier. But gradually, the work talk faded into something else. Easier conversation? Stories about Ezra's college years, about Dante's early days building his business empire. I never pictured you as someone who started from nothing, Ezra said, curled into the corner of the couch with his coffee mug cradled in both hands. You seem so established, like you were born to this. I was born to a father who drank away every paycheck and a mother who worked 3 jobs to keep us fed, Dante said. Everything I have, I built. Sometimes with methods I'm not proud of. Ezra met his eyes. We all do what we have to do to survive. Is that what you're doing? Surviving? The question hung between them. Ezra looked down at his coffee. My mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's 3 years ago, he said quietly. She's in a care facility now. A good one, but expensive. My dad died when I was 16. No siblings. So it's just me. And some days, that feels like too much weight for one person to carry. Dante wanted to reach across the space between them, wanted to pull Ezra close and promise him he didn't have to carry it alone. Instead, he said, You're stronger than you think. I don't feel strong. Ezra's voice was barely above a whisper. Most days I feel like I'm one bad moment away from falling apart, and yet you're still standing. Ezra looked up and their eyes met across the dim living room. Something passed between them, some unspoken recognition, some shared understanding of what it meant to be alone, to carry weight, to keep moving forward even when you wanted to collapse. Why did you really invite me over? Ezra asked. Dante could have deflected. Should have deflected. Instead, he told the truth. Because I didn't like the idea of you being alone tonight. Ash. Ezra's breath caught. Just barely, but Dante heard it. And you? Ezra asked. Are you alone? Always by choice? Dante considered lying.
Quietly?
It's easier that way. Easier than what? Than letting someone close enough to hurt me. The confession surprised them both. Dante didn't talk about these things. Didn't let people see beneath the carefully constructed exterior of the powerful businessman. The man who controlled half the cities, real estate, and financial interests. But something about Ezra, something about the late hour and the quiet intimacy of the moment made him want to be honest. I should go, Ezra said, but he didn't move. You should, Dante agreed. He didn't move either. They sat there in the silence, the space between them charged with something neither of them was ready to name. Finally, Ezra stood. Dante walked him to the door. Thank you, Ezra said. For tonight? For listening. Anytime. Dante meant it. Ezra hesitated, his hand on the doorknob. Dante, why me? What do you mean? You have dozens of employees. Hundreds, probably. Why do you care if I'm alone? Why the apartment? Why tonight? Dante could have given him a dozen different answers. All of them would have been partly true. None of them would have been the whole truth. Because you matter, he said simply. Ezra searched his face, those dark eyes looking for something. Whatever he found made him smile, small and uncertain, but real. You matter too, Ezra said. Then he left. Dante stood in his doorway for a long time after, trying to understand what had just shifted between them. Trying to understand why it terrified him. The first time Dante realized he was in love with Ezra Chen, they were in a meeting with the Santoro family. It was supposed to be a simple negotiation. Territory rights in the Harbor District. Standard business for Dante's organization. But Marco Santoro had brought his younger brother, Luca, who spent the entire meeting staring at Ezra with predatory interest. Your secretary, Luca said, his eyes raking over Ezra in a way that made Dante's jaw clench. Is he part of the deal? Excuse me? Dante's voice went cold. Easy, Moretti. What? Marco shot his brother a warning look. Luca's just appreciating the view. Ezra kept his expression carefully neutral, his pen moving across his notepad as he took meeting notes. But Dante saw the tension in his shoulders, the way his hand tightened almost imperceptibly around the pen. Mr. Chen is my personal secretary, Dante said, his tone making it clear the subject was closed. And he's not part of any discussion. Luca leaned back in his chair, smirking. Touchy, I was just saying he's attractive. That's not illegal, is it? Luca. Marco's voice was sharp now. Focus. The meeting continued, but Dante couldn't concentrate. He kept seeing the way Luca looked at Ezra, kept feeling the surge of protective anger that rose in his chest. When the Santoros finally left, Ezra started gathering the files. Sorry about that, Dante said. Ezra glanced up, surprised. About what? Lucas Santoro is a disrespectful asshole. I've dealt with worse. Ezra's voice was matter-of-fact. It's fine. It's not fine. Dante moved closer. If anyone ever makes you uncomfortable, I know. I'll tell you. Ezra smiled slightly. You've made that very clear. They stood there in the empty conference room, and Dante realized how close they were standing. Close enough to see the flecks of gold in Ezra's dark eyes. Close enough to smell his cologne. Close enough to kiss him. If Dante were brave enough, he wasn't. Should finish the contract summaries, Ezra said. But he didn't step back. Neither did Dante. Ezra, he started. Not sure what he was going to say. Ezra waited, his eyes searching Dante's face. Dante's phone buzzed. A message from his security team about an issue at one of his properties. The moment broke. I need to handle this, Dante said, stepping back. Take the rest of the day. You've earned it. Something flickered in Ezra's expression, disappointment. Maybe, but it was gone too quickly for Dante to be sure. All right. I'll see you tomorrow. After Ezra left, Dante stood alone in the conference room, his heart pounding. He was in love with his secretary. The realization should have shocked him. Instead, it felt like finally admitting something he'd known for months. He was in love with Ezra Chen, and he had no idea what to do about it. 2 weeks later, everything changed. Dante was working late when Ezra knocked on his office door, his face pale. We have a problem, Ezra said. Dante was on his feet immediately. What happened? Someone's been embezzling from the Riverside Development account. Large amounts. For months. Ezra handed him a folder. I found the discrepancies when I was reconciling the quarterly reports. Dante flipped through the documents, his expression darkening. How much? 2.3 million. Maybe more. Who has access to these accounts? Only a handful of people. Your CFO, 2 senior accountants, and… Ezra hesitated. Me. Dante looked up sharply. You think you're a suspect? I know how this looks. I'm the one who found it. I have access. I'm relatively new to the organization. Ezra's voice was steady, but Dante could see the fear in his eyes. If I were you, I'd suspect me too. I don't. You should. Ezra met his gaze directly. I'm giving you permission to investigate me. Full access to my finances, my background, everything. I want you to be sure. I am sure. How can you be? Because I know you. Dante moved around his desk, closing the distance between them. You're brilliant, Ezra. If you were going to embezzle from me, you'd never be sloppy enough to leave a trail I could find. You'd be smarter than this. The ghost of a smile crossed Ezra's face. That's either a compliment or an insult. It's trust. The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. I'll start the investigation tomorrow, Dante continued. Quietly, we'll find whoever did this. If it does turn out to be me somehow, it won't. Dante's voice was absolute. But if it did, I'd want to know why. I'd want to help. Ezra shook his head slowly. You put too much faith in me. Or maybe you don't put enough faith in yourself. They stood close in the quiet office, the late hour, making everything feel more intimate. More real? I should let you work, Ezra said, but he didn't move. Ezra? Dante caught his arm gently as he started to turn. Thank you. For bringing this to me directly. A lot of people wouldn't have. You've trusted me with your business. That means something to me. You mean something to me? The words were out before Dante could stop them. Too honest, too revealing, Ezra went very still. Dante, I shouldn't have said that. Dante released his arm, took a step back. It's late. We're both tired. Don't do that. Ezra's voice had an edge now. Don't say something real and then take it back. What do you want me to say? I want you to tell me the truth. Ezra moved closer again, eliminating the distance Dante had tried to create. Because I've been going crazy for months, thinking I was imagining things. The way you look at me sometimes. The way you find reasons to keep me late. The apartment. The midnight conversations. Tell me I'm not making it up. Dante's heart hammered against his ribs. This was it. The moment where everything either changed or shattered. You're not making it up, he said quietly. Ezra drew in a shaky breath. Then why haven't you said anything? Because you work for me. Because there's a power imbalance. Because I'm 15 years older than you. Because you're scared, Ezra finished. Dante couldn't deny it. I'm scared too, Ezra admitted. I'm terrified. You're my boss. You're this powerful, brilliant, untouchable person, and I'm just don't. Dante's voice was fierce. Don't diminish yourself. You're extraordinary, Ezra. You're one of the smartest, strongest people I've ever met. That's not me being your boss. That's me stating a fact. Ezra's eyes were bright. So what do we do? I don't know, that's honest, at least. They stood there, close enough to touch, but not quite touching. Both afraid. Both wanting. I should go, Ezra said finally. This time Dante didn't stop him, but as Ezra reached the door, he paused. Dante, for what it's worth, you mean something to me too? Then he was gone, leaving Dante alone in his office, with his racing heart and the truth he could no longer deny. The investigation into the embezzlement took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of working closely with Ezra, of late nights poring over financial records, of moments when their hands would brush over documents and they'd both freeze. 3 weeks of careful distance and growing tension. 3 weeks of Dante falling deeper in love with a man he couldn't have. They'd found the culprit eventually. Gerald Morrison. The senior accountant who'd been with Dante for 5 years, he'd been siphoning money to cover gambling debts. When confronted with the evidence, he confessed everything. We got him, Ezra said, setting the final report on Dante's desk. It's over, thanks to you. Dante looked up from the documents. You did brilliant work on this. just doing my job. It's more than that. Dante stood, moving around his desk. You could have overlooked this, could have let it slide. Instead, you brought it directly to me, knowing it might make you a suspect. You trusted me. That matters. They were standing close again. It kept happening, these moments where the careful distance they maintained would collapse. Ezra, don't. Ezra's voice was quiet but firm. Please don't say my name like that unless you're going to do something about it. What do you want me to do? I want you to stop pretending you don't feel this. Ezra's eyes were intense. I want you to stop making excuses. I want you to admit that this thing between us is real. And if I do, then what? Then we figure it out, together. You could lose your job. I'll find another one. People will talk. They'll say, you slept your way into your position. Let them. Ezra stepped closer. I know the truth. You know the truth. That's what matters. I'm 15 years older than you. I don't care. I'm not an easy person to love, Ezra. I'm controlling. I'm possessive. I have enemies. I'm not asking for easy. I'm asking for real. Dante felt something cracked inside him, the wall he'd built, the careful control he'd maintained. You deserve better than me, he said. But his voice lacked conviction. It's not your choice to make. Ezra reached up, his hand hovering near Dante's face, but not quite touching. Tell me you don't want this. Look me in the eye and tell me you don't feel anything for me, and I'll walk away. I'll be professional. We'll never speak of this again. Dante looked at him. At the hope and fear warring in those dark eyes, at the courage it took to put his heart on the line like this. I can't, he admitted. I can't tell you that because it would be a lie. And what can you tell me? Dante reached up, finally closing the distance, his hand cupping Ezra's face. I can tell you that I think about you constantly, that you're the first person I want to talk to in the morning and the last voice I want to hear at night, that you've become essential to me in a way that terrifies me. Ezra leaned into his touch, his eyes closing briefly. Dante, I can tell you that I'm falling in love with you, that I might have been falling since the night I found you crying in that closet. Dante's thumb brushed across Ezra's cheekbone, and I can tell you that scares me more than anything else in my life ever has. When Ezra opened his eyes, they were bright with unshed tears. Why does it scare you? Because you could destroy me, Dante said simply. You could break me in ways my enemies never could. I would never, I know. That's what makes this so terrifying. I trust you with that power. They stood there, Dante's hand on Ezra's face, their hearts pounding in sync. Can I kiss you? Ezra whispered. Dante's breath caught. This was it. The point of no return. Yes, he said. Ezra closed the remaining distance between them. His lips meeting Dante's in a kiss that was soft and tentative and absolutely perfect. Dante's other hand came up to frame Ezra's face. Holding him gently as the kiss deepened, it was nothing like Dante had imagined. It was better. It was overwhelming. It was coming home. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ezra smiled, real and bright and beautiful. That was Ezra started. Dante agreed. They stood there, foreheads pressed together, both grinning like idiots. What happens now? Ezra asked. Now? Dante pulled back enough to look at him properly. Now, we figure this out, together, like you said. I'm probably going to need to resign. Probably. Dante's hand slid down to Ezra's waist. But I'm going to need a new head of finance. Someone brilliant and trustworthy. Know anyone who might be qualified? Ezra laughed. You're impossible, you like it. Unfortunately, I really do. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring it. When they finally broke apart, Dante rested his forehead against Ezra's. I'm going to mess this up, he warned. I'm going to be overprotective and possessive and probably suffocating. I'm going to call you out on it, Ezra countered. I'm going to challenge you and push back and probably drive you crazy. I can't wait. But of course, it wasn't that simple. It never was. The trouble started 2 months later. When word got out that Dante and Ezra were involved, Dante had expected some gossip, some speculation. What he hadn't expected was the viciousness of it. "They're saying I manipulated you," Ezra said, pacing Dante's office. "That I seduced you to get ahead in the company? Ignore them." I can't ignore them when it's affecting business." Ezra spun to face him. "3 clients have requested different account managers. Your board wants to meet with you about concerns regarding professional conduct." Dante's jaw tightened. "I'll handle the board. This is exactly what I was afraid of." Ezra ran a hand through his hair. "I'm becoming a liability to you. You're not, I am. And you know it." Ezra's voice cracked. "Maybe we should take a step back, just until things calm down." Dante was around his desk in 3 strides. "No, Dante, be reasonable. I don't want to be reasonable. I want to be with you." He grabbed Ezra's hand. "We knew this wouldn't be easy. We knew people would talk. Didn't know it would hurt your business. I don't care about the business." Ezra stared at him. "You don't mean that, don't I? You think I built this empire for its own sake? I built it because I was alone and I needed something to focus on, something to care about." Dante pulled Ezra closer. "But you make me realize how empty all of it was. How hollow. You're going to resent me eventually. When you lose clients, when your board turns against you. The only thing I'd resent is letting you go because I was too much of a coward to fight for us." Ezra's eyes were bright with tears. "I don't want to be the reason you lose everything you've built. You're not. You're the reason I finally understand what I was building it for." Dante framed Ezra's face with his hands. "I love you. Do you understand that? I love you, and I'm not letting gossip and small-minded people take you away from me." "I love you too," Ezra whispered. "That's why this is so hard. And trust me. Trust us." Dante kissed him softly. "We'll get through this." But the pressure kept mounting. The board meeting was brutal. 3 members outright called for Ezra's termination. 2 suggested Dante needed to reconsider his priorities. Only one, Victor Chen, ironically no relation to Ezra, defended them. "Dante's personal life is his own business," Victor argued. "And Chen's work speaks for itself." "His work is exactly the problem," Margaret Foster snapped. "How can we trust that his recommendations are based on merit and not on his relationship with Dante?" "You've trusted my judgment for 10 years, Dante said coldly. "That hasn't changed. Your judgment has been compromised." "My judgment," Dante said, his voice dangerously quiet, "is that Ezra Chen is one of the most talented analysts this company has ever employed. His work on the Harbor District expansion alone brought in $15 million in revenue. His restructuring of our investment portfolio increased our returns by 30%. Those are facts, not feelings. Facts that are now overshadowed by the appearance of impropriety." Margaret countered. The meeting ended with no resolution. Dante left feeling like he'd been in a war. He found Ezra in his new office. He'd been promoted to head of financial strategy 2 weeks before the relationship became public knowledge. "How bad?" Ezra asked. "Bad." Dante closed the door behind him. "But we'll survive it." "Dante." Ezra's voice was strained. "Maybe they're right. Maybe I should step down." "No. If I leave, this all goes away. You can tell them it was a mistake, that you ended it. Your reputation stays intact. And what about your reputation? What about your career? I'll figure it out." Ezra tried to smile. "I'm resilient, remember? Stop trying to sacrifice yourself for me." Someone has to be practical here. Dante moved closer, backing Ezra against his desk. "You want practical? Here's practical. I need you. Not just as my partner, but as my head of financial strategy. You're too good at this job to let them drive you out. And I need you to have a company to run," Ezra shot back. "If the board forces you out, they won't. You don't know that. I own controlling interest. They can complain, but they can't remove me." Dante's hand settled on Ezra's waist. "Stop trying to protect me by leaving. It won't work anyway." "Why not?" "Because I'd follow you." Dante said it simply, like it was obvious. "You think I care more about this company than I care about you? I'd burn it all down before I'd let you walk away thinking you had to sacrifice yourself for me." Ezra's breath hitched. "You can't mean that. Try me." They stared at each other. the tension thick between them. I hate that loving you comes with all this baggage. Ezra finally said, I hate that loving me puts you in this position. Dante rested his forehead against Ezra's. But I don't hate loving you. I could never hate that. What do? We fight together. Dante pulled back to look at him. No more talk of you leaving. No more sacrificing yourself. We face this as a team, even if it gets worse. Especially if it gets worse. Ezra searched his face, then nodded slowly. Together, Dante confirmed. It did get worse before it got better. A story appeared in a business gossip blog. Moretti, Empire, crumbling. Sources say, boss's boy toy, causing internal chaos. The article was vicious. It questioned Ezra's qualifications, implied he was using Dante for money and status, and suggested the relationship was inappropriate and unprofessional. Dante found Ezra in the Riverside penthouse, the apartment Dante had given him, which the article had specifically mentioned as evidence of their sugar daddy arrangement. Ezra was sitting on the floor of the living room, surrounded by boxes. What are you doing? Dante asked. Packing. Ezra didn't look up. I'm moving out, Ezra. Don't. Please. Ezra's voice was raw. I can't keep living in a place you gave me while people are writing articles about how I'm using you. Who cares what they write? I do. Ezra finally looked up, his eyes red. I care that people think I'm with you for your money. I care that they think I manipulated you. I care that every decision I make at work will be questioned because of our relationship. Dante knelt beside him. Where will you go? I found a studio in the South District. It's small, but it's all I can afford on my actual salary. Your actual salary is 6 figures, and this apartment costs more per month than I make in a year. Can't you see how that looks? I don't care how it looks. Well, I do. Ezra started putting books in a box. I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror. I need to know that I'm with you because I love you, not because you provide for me. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, What if we moved in together? Ezra's hands stilled. What? My place? It's bigger than this. And if we're living together, it's not me giving you something. It's us sharing a space. Dante caught Ezra's hand. Move in with me. Really move in? As my partner, not my employee. People will still talk. People will always talk. But at least this way, we're making a choice together. Ezra looked down at their joined hands. You really want me to move in with you? I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to come home to you every night. I want us to build a life together. Dante squeezed his hand. So yes, I really want you to move in with me. What about work? What about it? You're good at your job. The results speak for themselves. Anyone who can't see that isn't worth your energy. Your board will adjust. Or they won't. Either way, I'm done letting them dictate my personal life. Ezra studied him for a long moment. You're sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything. Slowly, a smile spread across Ezra's face. Okay, yeah, let's do it. Let's be disgustingly domestic and prove everyone wrong. Dante kissed him, slow and deep, pouring everything he felt into it. When they pulled apart, both were grinning. Help me pack, Ezra asked. Only if you promise to unpack at my place. Our place, Ezra corrected. Dante's heart did something complicated in his chest. Our place, he agreed. Moving in together was an adjustment. Dante was used to his space being exactly as he left it, used to silence and solitude, used to being alone. Ezra was the opposite. He left books everywhere, played music while he cooked, had opinions about furniture placement. Their first real fight was about Dante's home office. Can't work 16-hour days anymore, Ezra said, standing in the doorway at midnight. You're going to burn out. I've always worked like this. That was before. Before you had someone waiting for you. Ezra's voice was tight. Didn't move in here to be alone every night. I have responsibilities, and I'm one of them. Ezra's eyes flashed. Or am I just convenient? Someone to come home to when you feel like it? That's not fair. Neither is being ignored for your work. Dante shoved back from his desk. What do you want from me? I'm doing my best here. Your best includes finding time for us. For me, Ezra crossed his arms. I know your work is important. But so am I. You are important. You're the most important thing in my life. Then act like it. They stared at each other, both frustrated, both hurt. I don't know how to do this, Dante finally admitted. I've never lived with anyone before, never had to consider someone else's needs. Neither have I, Ezra said quietly. But I'm trying. I need you to try too. Dante moved around the desk, closing the distance between them. I'm sorry, you're right. I've been using work as an excuse. An excuse for what? For not dealing with how terrifying this is? Having you here? Knowing you could leave, Ezra's expression softened. I'm not going anywhere. You say that now? I say it always. Ezra grabbed Dante's shirt, pulling him closer. I love you. I moved in with you. I'm fighting for us every day at work. More do I need to do to prove I'm committed to this? Nothing. I'm sorry, Dante. Wrapped his arms around Ezra. I'm being an idiot. A little bit. Yeah. He stood there, holding each other, the fight draining away. I'll do better, Dante promised. I'll make time for us. I'll be more patient, Ezra said against his shoulder. This is new for both of us. We'll figure it out. Together. Always together. Slowly, things started to improve. The gossip died down. Ezra's work continued to speak for itself. 2 major deals closed. 3 new clients brought in. Revenue up across the board. Even the board had to admit he was exceptional at his job. Dante made an effort to leave work at reasonable hours. They had dinner together most nights. Fell asleep, tangled together. Woke up to lazy morning kisses. It wasn't perfect. They still fought sometimes. Still had to navigate the complicated dynamics of working together while being in love. Still dealt with the occasional snide comment or judgmental look. But it was theirs, and that made it worth fighting for. 6 months after Ezra moved in, Dante came home to find candles lit throughout the apartment and the smell of something delicious cooking. What's the occasion? He asked, finding Ezra in the kitchen. No occasion. Just wanted to do something nice. Ezra smiled over his shoulder. How was your day? Long. Better now. Dante wrapped his arms around Ezra from behind, resting his chin on his shoulder. This smells amazing. Family recipe. Well, my mom's recipe. From before, Ezra's voice caught. Dante tightened his arms. How is she? Same. The facility called today. She didn't recognize my voice when I talked to her. Ezra leaned back against him. Sorry, I don't mean to bring the mood down. Don't apologize. Not for that. Not ever. Dante turned Ezra in his arms. We can visit her this weekend if you want. You do that, of course. She's important to you. That makes her important to me. Ezra's eyes went suspiciously bright. I love you. I love you too. Dante kissed him softly. Now what can I do to help with dinner? They cooked together, moving around each other with the ease of practice. Ate at the dining room table, talking about their days, making plans for the weekend. After dinner, they curled up on the couch, Ezra's head on Dante's shoulder, while they watched some mindless TV show neither was really paying attention to. Dante, Ezra said during a commercial break. Are you happy? Dante looked down at him. What brought that on? I know this hasn't been easy. The gossip, the board, the fights. I want to make sure it's worth it for you. Ezra. Dante shifted so he could see his face properly. Before you, I had success. Money, power, all the things I thought I wanted. But I wasn't happy. I was just existing. And now I have you. And that makes everything else worth it. Dante brushed a strand of hair from Ezra's face. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. Don't ever doubt that. Ezra smiled, soft and warm. You're sappy. Only for you. Good. Ezra kissed him. Because you're stuck with me now. I can live with that. They settled back into comfortable silence, the TV playing in the background, both content just to be together, Dante. Ezra said after a while. Yeah, thank you. For what? For finding me in that closet. For giving me a chance. For loving me even when it was complicated. Ezra's voice was quiet. For choosing me every day. Dante's chest tightened with emotion. I'd choose you every time. In every universe, in every timeline, that's definitely sappy. You love it. I really do. They stayed there until they both fell asleep, wrapped around each other. Exactly where they belonged. A year after that night in the closet, Dante threw a party. It was ostensibly to celebrate a major merger, but really, it was an excuse to show Ezra off, to make a statement, to show everyone that they were together, they were strong, they weren't going anywhere. Ezra wore a tailored black suit that made Dante's mouth go dry. His hair was styled perfectly, his smile bright as he worked the room, charming clients and business partners with ease. "Your boy's good at this?" Victor Chen said, appearing at Dante's elbow with 2 glasses of champagne. "He's a natural," Dante agreed, accepting one of the glasses. "And you're disgustingly in love with him?" Dante didn't bother denying it. "Is it that obvious? You look at him like he hung the moon?" Victor smiled. "It's nice to see. You were always so closed off before." "He changed me. Good changes, I hope. The best." Dante watched as Ezra laughed at something a client said, his whole face lighting up. "He makes me want to be better." That's what love does. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the party. "You know," Victor said when you first announced you were together, I thought it was a mistake. I was one of the board members who had concerns." Dante looked at him sharply. "But I was wrong," Victor continued. "Ezra's brilliant, and you're better together than you ever were apart. I'm sorry I doubted you. Thank you for saying that. Don't thank me. Just be happy." Victor clinked his glass against Dante's. "And maybe think about making it official sometime." "Official?" "Marriage, Dante. I'm talking about marriage." Victor grinned. "Unless I'm reading this wrong." Dante's heart skipped. "I hadn't thought that far ahead." "Well, start thinking. That man loves you, and you love him. Don't waste time." Victor wandered off, leaving Dante with his thoughts. Marriage, the idea should have terrified him. Instead it felt right. He found Ezra later on the balcony getting some air. "Hey," Ezra said, turning with a smile. "Great party. You're the star of it." Dante joined him at the railing. "Everyone loves you. They love the work. I'm just the guy presenting it. You're so much more than that." Dante took Ezra's hand. "You're incredible, Ezra. I hope you know that." "Yes." His smile turned soft. "You're biased. Doesn't make it less true." They stood there, looking out at the city lights, hands clasped. "Ezra," Dante said after a moment, "do you ever think about the future? All the time? What do you see?" Ezra was quiet for a moment. "I see us, in this apartment, or maybe a house somewhere, maybe a dog." He laughed softly. "I see waking up next to you for the rest of my life, growing old together, building something real and lasting." Yeah. Ezra squeezed his hand. "What do you see?" "The same thing," Dante admitted. "All of it. With you." Ezra turned to look at him, his eyes searching. "Are we really doing this? Building a life together?" "I want to, if you do." "I do," Ezra said. Then he seemed to realize what he'd said and laughed. "That sounded like a proposal." "Maybe it was," Dante said quietly. Ezra went very still. "Dante, I don't have a ring. I didn't plan this." Dante turned to face him fully. "But I love you, Ezra Chin. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to make this official. Make us official." "Are you? Are you asking me to marry you?" "Yes." Dante's heart was pounding. "I'm asking you to marry me." Ezra stared at him, eyes wide. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious about anything. We've only been together a year. I don't care. I know what I want. I want you. Forever." Dante cupped Ezra's face. "Say yes." "Dante." "Say yes," Dante repeated. "Please." Ezra's eyes were bright with tears. "You're crazy about you." "Yes." "We're going to drive each other insane." "Probably. People will say we're moving too fast." "Let them talk." Ezra laughed, a sound somewhere between joy and disbelief. Yes, you, impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you." Dante kissed him, deep and desperate and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both were grinning like idiots. "We're engaged," Ezra said, like he couldn't quite believe it. "We're engaged." Dante confirmed. "We're going to need a ring. We'll get one tomorrow." and we should probably tell people. Later. Dante pulled him close again. Right now, I just want this moment. Just us. Ezra melted against him. Just us, he agreed. They stood there on the balcony, the party continuing inside. Both knowing they'd just changed everything. Both knowing it was exactly what they wanted. Epilogue. 2 years later, Dante stood in the doorway of their bedroom. Watching Ezra sleep, they'd gotten married 6 months after the engagement. Small ceremony, just close friends and family. Ezra's mother had been there one of her good days, thankfully. She'd cried when she saw them exchange vows. You found someone who loves you? She'd whispered to Ezra afterward. I'm so happy. It was one of the last coherent conversations they'd had with her. She'd passed away 3 months later. Ezra had been devastated, but Dante had been there. Through the grief, through the funeral arrangements, through the quiet nights when Ezra just needed to be held, they'd gotten through it together. They got through everything together now. The board had finally accepted their relationship. The gossip had died down. Ezra had been promoted to CFO. The company was more successful than ever, but more than that, they were happy. Ezra stirred, his eyes opening slowly. You're staring. Can't help it. You're beautiful. You're ridiculous. But Ezra smiled, reaching for him. Come back to bed. Dante climbed in beside him, pulling Ezra into his arms. What do you want to do today? Nothing. Everything. I don't care as long as I'm with you. Sappy, you love it. I really do. Dante kissed the top of his head. I love you. I love you too. Ezra tilted his face up for a proper kiss. Thank you. For what? For finding me in that closet? For not letting me push you away? For choosing me every day? Ezra's voice was soft. For being my home? Dante's chest tightened with emotion. You're my home too. You always will be. They lay there, wrapped around each other, the morning sun streaming through the windows. 2 years ago, Dante had been alone, closed off, convinced he was better off without anyone. Then he'd heard crying in a closet. Then he'd met Ezra Chen. Then everything had changed, Ezra said, pulling back to look at him. What are you thinking about? How lucky I am. That's my line. We can share it. Ezra grinned. I like that. Sharing everything with you? Everything, Dante agreed. And he meant it. The good and the bad. The easy and the hard. The laughter and the tears. All of it. Together exactly as it should be. The Eon dated this story. Touch your heart. Please like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications so you never miss our emotional stories. Comment below. Should I tell you what happened on their honeymoon? Let me know if you want part 2 of Dante and Ezra's journey. Your support means everything. From Mafia boss to husband, the honeymoon that almost destroyed their marriage, gay love story part 2. The envelope arrived 3 days before their honeymoon. Dante found it on his desk at Workplane, Manila. No return address. His name typed across the front. Something about it made his skin crawl even before he opened it. Inside were photographs. Ezra coming out of a cafe with another man, the two of them laughing. The man's hand on Ezra's shoulder, another photo of them hugging goodbye. The images were dated from last week, while Dante had been in Singapore closing a deal. Underneath the photos was a single typed note. Your husband has secrets. Ask him about Marcus. Dante stared at the photos, his mind racing. He knew he should trust Ezra, should ask him directly. They'd built their relationship on honesty, but old insecurities, the ones he'd spent a lifetime building walls against, came flooding back. He slipped the envelope into his briefcase. Just as Ezra knocked on his office door, "Hey," Ezra said, smiling that smile that usually made Dante's heart skip. Ready for lunch? Dante looked at his husband, the man he'd married. 6 months ago, in front of everyone they loved, Dante felt something cold settle in his chest. Actually, I need to work through lunch today. Rain check. Ezra's smile faltered. You've been saying that all week. Is everything okay? Fine, just busy. Dante, I said. I'm fine, Ezra. His tone was sharper than he intended. Ezra flinched. Okay, I'll see you at home then. After he left, Dante pulled the photos out again, staring at them until the images burned into his mind. Ask him about Marcus. He didn't, and that was his first mistake. Their honeymoon was supposed to be paradise. 2 weeks in a private villa in Santorini. No work, no phones. Just them. Dante had planned every detail, had wanted it to be perfect. Instead, he spent the first 3 days watching Ezra with suspicion he tried to hide, watching for signs, for lies, for proof that the photos meant what he feared they meant. "You're quiet," Ezra said on their 4th evening, as they sat on the terrace watching the sunset. "You've been quiet since before we left. Just tired." Bullshit. Ezra set down his wine glass. "You've barely touched me since we got here. You can't even look at me for more than a few seconds." "What's going on?" "Nothing, Dante." Ezra moved closer, concern etched on his face. "Talk to me, please." Dante should have shown him the photos then. Should have asked about Marcus. Should have been honest. Instead, he said, "I'm fine." "Stop pushing. I'm your husband. Pushing is kind of my job when something's wrong. Well, maybe I need space." Ezra drew back like he'd been slapped. "Space? We're on our honeymoon. I'm telling you, I need space." Dante stood, putting distance between them. "Can you respect that?" "No, I can't." Ezra stood too, his voice rising. "Because this isn't about space. This is about you shutting me out again. Not everything is about you, Ezra." "Then what is it about?" "Because I've been trying to figure out what I did wrong for a week now, and I'm coming up empty." "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you don't even realize what you've done." Ezra went very still. "What does that mean?" Dante wanted to take it back, wanted to rewind the whole conversation. Instead, he doubled down. "I'm going for a walk. Don't you dare walk away from me right now." But Dante did. He left Ezra standing on the terrace and walked down to the beach, his heart pounding, his mind screaming at him that he was destroying everything. He didn't come back until after midnight. Ezra was in bed, facing away from him, but Dante knew he wasn't sleeping. They didn't speak, and that was his second mistake. The next morning, Ezra was gone. Dante woke to an empty bed, and a note on the pillow went into town. "Need to think." A panic seized him. He grabbed his phone, called Ezra. No answer. He tried again. And again, finally, on the 5th call, Ezra picked up. "What?" His voice was cold. "Where are you?" "I told you. In town. When are you coming back?" "I don't know." "When are you going to tell me what's really going on?" Dante sat on the edge of the bed, the photos burning a hole in his conscience. "Ezra, I love you." Ezra interrupted. "I married you. I moved across the world to be with you on this honeymoon. And you're treating me like I've done something unforgivable, but you won't tell me what it is. It's complicated. It's then uncomplicated. Talk to me." Dante closed his eyes. "Who's Marcus?" Silence on the other end of the line. Long, stretching silence. "How do you know about Marcus?" Ezra's voice was barely above a whisper, and there it was. Confirmation. Dante felt like he'd been punched in the chest. "So it's true. You've been seeing someone." "What?" "No, Dante. Where is this coming from?" "I have photos, Ezra. You and him." "Last week? Photos? What photos? Who sent you?" Ezra's voice cracked. "Oh my God. You've been thinking I'm cheating on you?" "Are you?" "No." Ezra's shout was loud enough that Dante had to pull the phone away from his ear. "Jesus Christ. Dante. No. I would never. How could you even think then? Who is he?" "He's my brother." Dante froze. "What?" "Marcus is my half-brother. From my dad's first marriage. I told you my dad died when I was 16. What I didn't tell you was that he had another family before us. Marcus reached out to me 6 months ago. We've been getting to know each other. You never mentioned him, because it's complicated. Because I didn't know how I felt about it. Because I wanted to figure out if he was genuine before I brought him into our lives." Ezra's voice was shaking now. "And because apparently I was right to be cautious. Since someone is taking photos of us and sending them to you to make it look like something it's not." Dante felt sick. "Ezra, you thought I was cheating? On our honeymoon? You thought I was cheating on you? Sorry, you didn't trust me. After everything we've been through, after everything I've sacrificed to be with you, you didn't trust me. I was scared. So was I. Ezra shouted. I was terrified of marrying you. Terrified of giving you the power to destroy me. But I did it anyway because I trusted you. Because I thought we were solid. Or no, we're not. Because the first time someone plants a seed of doubt, you water it instead of coming to me. Ezra's voice broke. I need to go. Ezra, wait, I'll be back later. I can't talk to you right now. The line went dead. Dante sat there staring at his phone. Realizing he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life, Ezra didn't come back until evening, when he did. His eyes were red, his face exhausted. I'm sorry, Dante said immediately. I'm so sorry. I should have trusted you. I should have asked, why didn't you? Ezra's voice was hollow. Why didn't you just show me the photos and ask me who he was? Because I was afraid. Of what? Of losing you. Dante moved toward him, but Ezra stepped back. I know how that sounds. I know it doesn't make sense. But when I saw those photos, all I could think was that you'd finally realized you deserved better than me. That you'd found someone who wasn't broken and complicated and stop. Ezra's voice was firm. Don't you dare make this about your insecurities. You hurt me, Dante. You accused me of cheating without even giving me a chance to explain. No. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Ezra's eyes were bright with unshed tears. You broke my trust. Do you understand that? I trusted you with everything, my heart, my career, my future, and you couldn't even trust me with a simple question? What do I do? How do I fix this? I don't know if you can. The words hit Dante like a physical blow. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. Ezra wiped at his eyes angrily. I can't be in a marriage where the first instinct is suspicion instead of communication. I can't spend my life proving I'm faithful every time someone tries to cause trouble. I'll do better. I'll work on it. Therapy, whatever you need. What I need is a husband who trusts me. Ezra's voice rose. What I need is to not feel like I'm constantly on trial in my own marriage. You're right. You're absolutely right. Dante felt tears burning his own eyes now. I'm broken, Ezra. I've spent my whole life not trusting anyone. And I don't know how to turn that off, even for you. Then maybe you shouldn't have married me. The words hung in the air between them. Sharp and devastating. You don't mean that? Dante whispered. Don't I? Ezra laughed bitterly. Right now, I don't know what I mean. I just know that I'm tired. I'm tired of fighting to prove myself. I'm tired of being treated like I'm going to disappear the second you take your eyes off me. What are you saying? Ezra looked at him, and Dante saw something in his eyes that terrified him. Exhaustion. Defeat. I'm saying I need time. Real time. To figure out if this marriage is something I can sustain. Ezra, please, I'm staying in the guest room tonight. Ezra moved toward the stairs. Tomorrow, I'm flying home early. Alone. You can finish the honeymoon or come back too. I don't care. Don't do this. You did this. Ezra looked back at him, tears finally spilling over. You did this when you chose to believe some anonymous photos over me. When you spent days punishing me for something I didn't do instead of just asking me a simple question. I love you. I know. That's what makes this so much worse. Ezra's voice broke. Because I love you too. And I don't know if that's enough anymore. He went upstairs. And Dante heard the guest room door close. Dante stood alone in their honeymoon villa, surrounded by paradise, and felt his world crumble. Ezra left the next morning. Dante didn't try to stop him. What could he say that he hadn't already said? Instead, he watched Ezra pack, watched him call a cab, watched him leave without looking back. Then Dante pulled out his phone and called Victor Chen. Dante. Isn't it like 5 in the morning there?
What's wrong?
Everything. Dante's voice was rough. I need your help. Someone sent me photos of Ezra with another man. Made it look like he was cheating. I fell for it. I accused him without asking questions first. Jesus Christ, Dante. I need to know who sent them. I need to know who's trying to destroy my marriage. And you think it'll fix things with Ezra? No. But I need to protect him from whoever's targeting us. Victor was quiet for a moment. Send me the envelope. I'll see what I can find out. But Dante? Figuring out who sent the photos won't fix the real problem. Just you not trusting your husband? That's on you to fix. Not whoever sent those photos. Dante knew he was right. Will you help me anyway? Of course. But you need to get your ass home and fight for your marriage. You hear me? Yeah, I hear you. Dante booked a flight home for that afternoon. He just hoped he wasn't too late. When Dante got back to New York, their apartment was empty. Ezra had been there. Some of his clothes were gone. His laptop missing from the desk. Dante tried calling. The calls went to voicemail. He tried texting. No response. He went to the office. Ezra's secretary said he'd called in for the week. Dante finally went to the Riverside penthouse, the apartment where this had all started, where he'd first found Ezra crying, where he'd first realized he was falling in love. Ezra answered the door in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, his hair messy, his eyes guarded. What are you doing here? His voice was flat. I needed to see you. To know you're okay. I'm fine. You're not. Neither am I. Dante took a tentative step closer. Can I come in, please? Ezra hesitated, then stepped aside. The apartment was exactly as Dante remembered, but it felt different. Now, colder. Less like the beginning of their story and more like a reminder of everything he'd almost destroyed. Hired someone to investigate the photos. Dante said once they were both inside, Victor's helping. We're going to find out who sent them. I don't care who sent them. Ezra, I mean it. I don't care. Ezra turned to face him. Because the real problem isn't whoever took those photos. It's that you believed them. That your first instinct was to suspect me instead of trust me. I know. And I'm going to fix it. I'm going to therapy. I'm going to work on my trust issues for you or for me. Dante paused. What? Are you going to therapy because you genuinely want to change? Or because you think it's what I want to hear? Ezra's eyes were sharp. Because if it's the latter, save your breath. I don't want performative healing. I want real change. It's real. I promise you, it's real. Dante moved closer. I can't lose you, Ezra. You're everything to me. Then why didn't you trust me? Because I'm terrified, Dante admitted. Every day I wake up and wonder when you're going to realize you could do better, when you're going to see me for what I really am, broken and damaged and not worthy of you. That's not your choice to make. Ezra's voice was softer now, but still firm. You don't get to decide what I deserve. I chose you, Dante. I chose you knowing exactly who you are, broken pieces and all. Then why does it feel like you're giving up on us? Because I'm not giving up on us. I'm protecting myself. Ezra's eyes were bright with tears. Do you have any idea how much it hurt? Being accused of cheating? Having you look at me like I was a stranger? Like everything we'd built meant nothing? I'm sorry. Stop apologizing. Ezra's voice cracked. I don't want apologies. I want to know that if this happens again, because it will, Dante, someone will always try to come between you. I want to know that you'll come to me first. That you'll trust me enough to ask questions before jumping to conclusions. I will. I swear I will. How can I believe that? Ezra wiped at his eyes. How can I trust that promise when you couldn't even make it through our honeymoon without doubting me? Dante felt something break inside him. I don't know how to prove it to you. Not with words. I can only show you over time. And I know that's not fair. I know you shouldn't have to wait for me to become the husband you deserve. But I'm asking you to give me that chance anyway. Ezra stared at him for a long moment. I need conditions. Anything.
Couples therapy.
Not just individual therapy. Both of us, together, working on communication and trust. Done. And you need to actually do the work. Not just show up. Actually engage. Actually try to change. I will. And if something like this happens again, if you get suspicious or worried or scared, you'll come to me immediately. No sitting on it. No stewing. You talk to me, I promise. Ezra took a shaky breath. And you need to meet Marcus. Dante blinked. What? My brother? You need to meet him properly, so you can see for yourself that he's just my brother. Ezra's voice was thick with emotion. Because I want him in my life, Dante, and if we're going to make this work, you need to be okay with that. I want to meet him. I should have asked to meet him from the beginning. You should have trusted me from the beginning. You're right. You're absolutely right. Dante took a careful step closer. Can I hug you? Ezra hesitated, then nodded. Dante crossed the space between them and wrapped his arms around Ezra, holding him tight. Ezra was stiff at first, but gradually he softened, his own arms coming up to hold Dante back. I'm so sorry, Dante whispered into Ezra's hair. I'm so sorry. I love you. I love you so much. I love you too, Ezra said against his chest. But love isn't enough if we don't have trust. Then I'll earn it back, however long it takes. Holding each other in the apartment where everything had started, both knowing that their marriage was hanging by a thread, both hoping it was strong enough to hold, meeting Marcus was harder than Dante expected. They met at a cafe in Manhattan Neutral Territory. Marcus was 29 with Ezra's eyes, but a different build, broader and taller. He had an easy smile that made Dante instantly understand why Ezra had wanted to know him. So you're the famous Dante, Marcus said, shaking his hand. I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I hope. Mostly. Marcus glanced at Ezra, who was watching them both warily. Though Ezra's been pretty quiet this past week, I was worried. That was my fault, Dante said, before Ezra could respond. I made some assumptions I shouldn't have. About you, actually. Marcus raised an eyebrow. About me? Someone sent me photos of you and Ezra together. Made it look. Well, I jumped to conclusions instead of asking questions. Ah, Marcus's expression turned serious. And you thought, yeah, that's messed up. Marcus looked at Ezra. You okay? Getting there, Ezra said quietly. And you too. Marcus looked between them. Are you going to be okay? We're working on it, Dante said. They spent the next hour talking about Marcus's job as a software engineer, about his own complicated relationship with their shared father, about how he'd found Ezra through a genealogy website. I didn't want to intrude on his life, Marcus explained, but I'd always wondered about having siblings. When I found out about Ezra, I had to reach out. I'm glad you did, Ezra said, his voice warm, watching them together. Seeing the genuine affection between them, Dante felt shame wash over him again. How could he have thought this was anything other than what it was? I owe you an apology too, Dante said to Marcus, for thinking the worst, for not trusting that Ezra would tell me about you when he was ready. Marcus studied him for a moment. You hurt him pretty badly. I know, he loves you. Anyone can see that. But love isn't a free pass to treat someone like they're expendable. I know that too. Do you? Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. Because Ezra spent his whole life taking care of everyone else. He put himself through school while caring for his mom. He works insane hours to prove himself in your company. He deserves someone who takes care of him for a change. You're right. So, are you going to do that? Take care of him. Dante looked at Ezra, who was watching him with guarded hope in his eyes. I'm going to try. Every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to try. Marcus seemed satisfied with that answer. Good. Because if you hurt him again, you'll have to answer to me. Despite everything, Dante smiled. I'd expect nothing less. Therapy was brutal. Dr. Sarah Mitchell didn't pull punches. She made Dante confront every fear, every insecurity, every defensive mechanism he'd built over a lifetime. You use control as a substitute for trust, she said during one session. When you can't control a situation, you panic. And that panic manifests as suspicion. So how do I stop? You learn to sit with uncertainty. You learn that love requires vulnerability. You'll learn that trusting someone means accepting that they could hurt you and choosing to believe they won't. In couples sessions, Dr. Mitchell made them practice communication exercises that felt awkward and forced at first. Dante, tell Ezra what you're feeling right now. Use I statements. I feel scared. I feel like I'm not enough for you. Ezra reflect that back to him. You feel scared that you're not enough for me? Ezra's voice was soft. Is that right? Yes, Dante. That fear, where does it come from? From growing up watching my father drive everyone away? From being alone for so long? From believing I was unlovable? And when those photos arrived, they confirmed everything I already believed about myself. That I wasn't worthy of Ezra's love. That eventually, he'd find someone better. Dr. Mitchell turned to Ezra. What do you hear in what Dante's saying? I hear pain, Ezra said quietly. I hear old wounds that haven't healed. But I also hear him using his past as an excuse to hurt me. Is that fair? Dante asked, stung. Is it unfair? Ezra looked at him. I understand why you have trust issues. I do, but at some point, you have to choose to heal them instead of weaponizing them against the people who love you. That's harsh, maybe, but it's also true. Sessions were full of moments like that, painful. Honest moments where they had to face the cracks in their foundation, but slowly. Things began to improve. Dante learned to voice his fears before they could fester. Learned to ask questions instead of making assumptions. Learned to recognize when his mind was spiraling and pull himself back. Ezra learned to be more open about his life. To not keep things to himself out of a misplaced desire to avoid burdening Dante. Learned to set boundaries. To say when something hurt instead of trying to be strong all the time. 3 months after their disastrous honeymoon, they were in Dr. Mitchell's office when she asked them a question that changed everything. Do you both still want this marriage? Dante and Ezra looked at each other. Dante said without hesitation. Yes, Ezra echoed. But not the marriage we had. I want better. For both of us. Let's talk about what better looks like. They spent the next hour defining what they wanted their marriage to be. Built on trust. On communication. On choosing each other, even when it was hard. I want to renew our vows, Dante said suddenly. Ezra looked at him in surprise. What? Our wedding was beautiful. But it happened before I really understood what I was promising you. Before I knew how hard marriage would be. How much work it takes. Dante reached for Ezra's hand. I want to make those promises again. Knowing what I know now, choosing you with full awareness of what that means. Ezra's eyes filled with tears. You want to renew our vows? I want to marry you again. But do it right this time. Dr. Mitchell smiled. I think that's an excellent idea. They renewed their vows 6 months later. On the 1-year anniversary of their original wedding. This time, there was no big ceremony. Just them, Victor, Marcus, and Dr. Mitchell as their officiant. They stood on the same terrace in Santorini, where everything had fallen apart, and made new promises to each other. I promise to trust you, Dante said, his voice thick with emotion. To come to you with my fears instead of letting them fester. To believe in us, even when it's scary. I promise to be patient, Ezra said, tears streaming down his face. To give you space to grow while also holding you accountable. To love you through the hard parts, not just the easy ones. I promise to work every day to be worthy of your love. Promise to remind you that you already are. They exchanged new, ring-simple bands engraved with the date and the word. Trust. When they kissed, it felt like a new beginning. That night, alone in their villa, they made love slowly, tenderly, like they were learning each other all over again. I love you, Dante whispered against Ezra's skin. I'm so sorry it took me so long to get here. We got here together, Ezra said, pulling him close. That's what matters. Are we going to be okay? I think so. Astra kissed him softly. I think we're going to be better than okay, and for the first time in months. Dante believed him. 2 years after their vow renewal, Dante came home to find Ezra in the kitchen. Cooking dinner with Marcus? Hey, Ezra said, smiling when he saw him. You're home early. Wanted to see my husband? Dante kissed Ezra's cheek, then nodded at Marcus. How's the app launch going? Good. Really good, actually. Rent. Might actually make money this time. I told you to let me invest, Dante said. Stealing a piece of whatever Ezra was chopping, and I told you I want to do this on my own first. Marcus threw a dish towel at him. Stop hovering and set the table. Dante did, smiling at the easy domesticity of it all. Marcus had become a real part of their lives' dinner at least once a week, holidays together. Someone Ezra could call when he needed family. Someone Dante had learned to love too after dinner. After Marcus left, Dante and Ezra curled up on the couch together. "You know what I realized today?" Ezra said, playing with Dante's fingers. "What?" "I don't remember the last time I was scared of losing you." Dante looked at him. "Really? Really? I know we're solid now. I know if something comes up, we'll talk about it. We'll work through it." Ezra smiled. "I trust us. So do I." Dante pulled him closer. "Took us a while to get here. Best journey I've ever been on." They sat in comfortable silence, both thinking about everything they'd been through. The crying in the closet. The near destruction of their marriage. The slow, painful work of rebuilding. "Dante," Ezra said after a while. "Yeah. Thank you for not giving up on us. Even when I wanted to. Thank you for not letting me give up. For making me fight for this." Ezra tilted his face up, and Dante kissed him softly. "I love you," Ezra murmured. "I love you too. Always." And this time, Dante knew how to show it. Not just with words, but with trust. With communication. With the daily choice to be better, to do better, to love better. It wasn't perfect. They still fought, sometimes. Still had bad days. But they had each other. And they had learned that sometimes. The greatest love stories are the ones where people choose to stay and work through the hard parts instead of running when things get difficult. They were messy and complicated and real. And they were exactly where they belonged. 3 years later, Dante stood in the doorway of their home office. Watching Ezra work, they'd moved out of the apartment last year. Bought a brownstone in Brooklyn, with room for the family they were starting to build. The adoption process was underway. A little girl named Sophie, 7 years old, who'd been in the system for 3 years. They'd meet her for the first time next week. "You're staring again," Ezra said, without looking up. "Can't help it. You're beautiful when you're concentrating. You're sappy when you're nervous." Dante came into the room, sitting on the edge of Ezra's desk. "Is it that obvious? You've checked your email about Sophie 17 times today." Ezra finally looked up, smiling. "We're going to be fine. What if she doesn't like us? Then we'll try again. But she will like us. Because we're going to be amazing dads." "You sound so sure." "I am sure." Ezra reached up, taking Dante's hand. "We've been through hell and back. We've rebuilt our marriage from the ground up. We've learned how to trust and communicate and fight for each other. If we can do all that, we can handle whatever parenthood throws at us. When did you get so wise?" "I married you, didn't I? Had to develop some wisdom to balance out your chaos." Dante laughed, pulling Ezra up and into his arms. "I love you. I love you too." Ezra kissed him softly. "We're going to be okay, Dante. All of us. Promise?" "Promise." And Dante believed him. Because they learned that love wasn't about never having doubts or fears. It was about facing them together, about choosing each other again and again, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. They'd started in a closet. With tears and vulnerability and an unexpected offer of help, they'd nearly ended on a honeymoon. Destroyed by fear and mistrust, but they'd rebuilt, stronger, better, more real, and now they were building something new, a family. A future. A life full of love and trust and daily choices to be better for each other. It wasn't always easy, but it was always worth it. And that, Dante thought, as he held his husband close, was what mattered most. The end. Did Dante and Ezra's journey touch your heart? Smash that like button if you believe in second chances and real love. Subscribe for more emotional LGBTQ+ stories that will make you believe in love. Comment below. Should I tell you about Sophie's first day with her new dads? Let me know if you want part 3, Sophie's story. Your support means the world. Share this with someone who needs to hear this message. Love is worth fighting for.